everyone. I'm Roojuta. First of all, like at Salesforce, a lot of the presentations start with a lot of thank yous. I wanted to thank Plato for organizing this wonderful conference today. I wanted to thank all of you who showed up today here. I wanted to thank the Mike and AV folks who helped me get wired up. With that, this is a little bit about me. When I see this picture, it definitely gets me warm and fuzzy, but also makes me feel like my younger one doesn't like my older one. It's forced into a hug. But if you could get, how many parents out here? OK, if you could get a baby and a toddler in the same picture, you can solve any complex problem. I can vouch for that. But getting back to what I do outside of my house, I'm a technology enthusiast. I love solving problems, technology problems that actually solve real-life problems, which is fun. I have been doing that for more than 13, 14 years now. I love giving back. I am a mentor for many organizations, Tech Women being one of them, empowering women all over the globe, Technovation, empowering young girls to get into tech. Those are like the things that actually fuel me and make me feel fulfilled outside my day job. Wannabe runner, but we have accepted that we are a jogger, not a runner. Try very hard, but maybe someday. Love spending time outdoors. But when I show up at work, there are certain fundamental principles that guide how I show up. Like the first one being together is better. We all have kind of realized that the stereotype of an engineer who works in silos, sits in a corner, does their job, doesn't talk to anyone, doesn't like being bothered, doesn't work anymore. So if we all work together, we are better. It's easy to achieve greatness when everyone is aligned. How many of you have been in situations where the product wants something else, engineering wants something else, design is doing something else? If everyone is aligned and working towards the same vision, usually you achieve something great out of it. Recognize your privileges. It's very easy for me to say as a brown woman, I'm a minority, I am not paid as much as men counterpart are, I am a brown person, but I do recognize that I'm here today because someone invested in me, my parents, a lot of people who believed in me gave me opportunities. So when I recognize my privileges, it makes me feel like I need to lift others up who might not have same privileges as me, who might have had privileges but do not have confidence to show up like I do. So lift others up. Enable others and do not be a disabler. Because the topic is code reviews, I'm not one of the reviewers who is going to tell you, you're writing bad code, just go away. No, I want to enable others to do better at their job. And last, but the most important, being nice is nice. Self-explanatory. But yeah, getting back to the topic of code reviews, I did what anyone does today. I asked ChatGPT what code reviews are. So code review is a systematic and collaborative process used in software development to assess and improve the quality of code, written by developers before it's integrated into the main code base or deployed in production. We all kind of know what it is, right? I wanted to highlight some keywords here. Systematic. It is a system that you and your team determines that works for you when you implement how code reviews are done at your company. It is collaborative. The goal is to learn from each other. The goal is to strive for collaboration amongst the team members, amongst the peers, sometimes with the architect, sometimes the domain expert. It's collaboration. Assess, straightforward. You want to assess, gatekeep what goes in production. And also, you want to improve the quality of the code and in general, right? So that's what code reviews are for. Now, when I think about code reviews, there are three main factors that determine the quality of the review. One is the PR, the pull request, reviewer, and reviewing. What is a good PR? If you ask someone that question, there are a lot of things that come up from where you are at. If you are a reviewee, you might have other ideas. A reviewer has other ideas. But for me, a PR is a good PR if it is crisp and clear. You know exactly what you are doing when you are reviewing that PR. You know what it includes, more or less. The description is a key. It helps you be more productive as a reviewer, and you avoid a lot of back and forth in terms of question and answers. It should be easily understandable. If I have to go back and read like 3 different tech specs to review someone's code, I'm not being productive at my job, or I'm not the right reviewer. So it should be understandable generally what the code review is about. Small PRs, as someone told me a while ago, like as a great engineering leader, you not only need to like execute things, but also need to know how to break up a big task into smaller chunks. And into something which is kind of shippable to production, you understand it generally what's going on. So small and succinct. Last is kind of contrary to what I said. Additional context is supplemented by comments, specs, and links. Usually the code reviews are not supposed to be big or not supposed to be such that you kind of need to read a bunch of documents. But it's not, in real world, that doesn't happen, right? So additional context. Additional context, if someone needs to spend 30, 40 minutes to review your PR, I suggest maybe set up a meeting, give an idea of overall what you're trying to achieve. This kind of setting usually happens when you're getting your code reviewed from an architect or a domain expert, or you want to get more feedback in terms of your design or the general architecture. So additional context, if you need to provide them, set up a meeting, spend 20, 30 minutes giving an overview of what they are reviewing and where you're going at, and then give them opportunity to go back, spend some time offline, and then review the code later. It will definitely be a little bit more productive than just sending out a PR, because if that person is domain expert, they're getting a lot of PRs, they don't have a lot of time. So some context would definitely be appreciated. Reviewer. As a reviewer, like first, there's a theme in my talk, like be nice. Sometimes you are at a place of authority. Sometimes you're at a place where you have a lot of domain knowledge or expertise in a certain area. So when someone comes to you for a review, try to be nice about the feedback that you provide. Feedback, if it is delivered the right way, it can be really valuable, or it can be really discouraging for someone to come to you with questions. So be nice and give constructive criticism, something that is targeted to the vision of what you're trying to do. When I think about preferences, I think about this episode of Silicon Valley where Richard and his girlfriend break up because one preferred tab and one preferred spaces in their codes. So preferences is something which I feel like we should kind of get over when we are doing a PR review. Because if you focus too much on that, there's an extra space here, or this is like supposed to be this way or that way, then you're not focusing on the real problem. When you are doing a PR, the goal is to actually identify long-term problems, catch bugs before they go to production, kind of avoid future tech debt, right? So if you're too focused on preference, then you're missing the main point of the review. And we all know how expensive it is to find bugs later in the software development lifecycle, or solving technical debt later, years later, or months later. So finding early detection is what code reviews are for. It is not supposed to be a shame or blame game. Don't want to shame anyone for asking questions, for putting a bad PR if you think it is a bad PR, or doing something that sounds stupid to you. Everyone comes from a different place, different perspective, different experiences, so try to not do that, I guess. Be curious, ask questions. If you don't understand something, why? Like, a lot of times when I'm doing reviews, I think like, why is this person doing this? And sometimes like it's better to ask rather than assume that they don't know something. Also be empathetic. Just kind of put yourself in their shoes. Maybe you are having a bad day, maybe they are having a bad day, I don't know. Like maybe they don't know what you know. A lot of times I'm in meetings where other people are not. So maybe they are missing a huge context, and then that helps identify like some other problems that are going on in the organization as well. So be empathetic, try to understand what's going on. Next, reviewee. Reviewee, it's super important as a reviewee to kind of be humble, put your review out there, and kind of be open for feedback. When you're putting a review, the goal is to get feedback, right? You don't know everything, no one knows everything, no one is perfect at everything. So feedback is great, it will actually help make the code better. And sometimes make you better as an engineer as well. So if you're open to it, it might do wonders. How many of you have found a reviewer who is your friend who would just approve your PR so you can merge it in sooner than later? It's Friday, 4 p.m. on Friday. I want to merge this before the end of this week. I'll find my friend, approves my PR. The green check mark comes, and I can merge my PR. Please don't do that, because then you're missing out on the point of the reviews. So find the right reviewers. It is good to find, someone mentioned this in one of the talks yesterday, find a person who is kind of commenting on your tech spec and saying all the negative things about your design. I think it was the Netflix talk. Yeah. So yeah, find that person who would give you good feedback. When I'm starting off on a new project, I generally like to find someone who will find faults in my design rather than someone who says it's great, ship it. Own the code you write. I can't emphasize this enough, because accountability for the code that we check in, it is a huge thing. Like when you are merging a bug fix, which is a one-line change maybe, or when you are deep in the code, like kind of as a good engineer, what one would do is like fix your bug, see what's going on, report on stuff. That's what I usually do. If I see a function that is too long, I don't have to fix it in the same PR, but I create a ticket to kind of make it smaller, more modular, so that the code becomes more maintainable. If you see there are no tests, that's not an excuse for you to check it without tests. It's kind of a good idea to bring it up in your next Scrum meeting or wherever you discuss things, and say, hey, maybe we need to add more tests to this class because we don't have any. If you see something that's broken, point it out to others, fix it yourself, own it. I generally feel like a good engineer is the one who would try and leave the code better than you found it, which is not true with everyone, but I know that it's super valuable to the leadership, to the managers, when you kind of find the problem in the code and fix it yourself and own those problems and fix it. Again, last but not least, be empathetic. When someone is providing you feedback, try to get to the bottom of why they are providing a certain feedback, rather than just dismissing it, saying that this person doesn't know what I know. Conversations are generally healthy. Talking to each other is healthy, so do that. Now, this is something that is super real. We do at Slack. Most companies do have a PR template, which you kind of have to fill out before you submit a review. At Slack, we have summary. Obviously, we want to know what we are trying to do here. Is this a PR because there was a bug? Is this a PR because you're trying to improve something? Is this something that is a work item? What are we trying to do? Usually, we provide links to work item. It's connected to Jira. On Jira bug, you can see all the PRs that are associated with it. It helps track when you're going back and looking up something. It helps why you did certain things. For a lot of UI features, we have before and after pictures. It helps visualize. Visualizing is sometimes great. What monitoring are you adding as part of your PR? It's part of a template. Did you test it? Manually tested it, added unit test, automation, what did you do? And last but super important, not all PRs can be reverted safely without creating some problems somewhere. So is this a PR that can be safely reverted in case there are any issues that are found later on, or there's a rollback that needs to happen? And this is a checklist, which is kind of a gentle reminder. Not everyone fills this out. I don't fill it out as well, guilty. But it's a good reminder in terms of what all things have you done. Have you done this? Once you do this for 6 months, 1 year, you kind of get a hang of it. You don't really need to look at it, but this is a general idea, including testing steps, verifying changes. Did you do unit testing? Did you create dashboards and metrics? Did you follow your security guidelines? There is a link usually associated with this one. Did you conform to accessibility criteria? Did you test it in all the types of teams? Did you test it on mobile, iOS, and Android, or whatever devices you support? And last but not least, did you merge it to the main branch? Now, because it's all about AI, everyone wants to know, is code review going to be deprecated once AI takes over? There's a lot we do today. I actually did ask ChatGPT, AI for code reviews and stuff like that. And something came up that resonated with me. We do have code linters today. We have had it for a while. We have code review bots that kind of point out like obvious things that are going wrong there. Some are linting, some like code analysis, some are prior bugs that might have come up because of certain coding pattern. There are certain NLP tools that are available which analyzes your comments and assesses the comprehensibility of those comments and documentation associated with your functions. You could add that if you want to do it. There are test detectors. We have a test detector, and it kind of complains every time you check in something or put up a PR without a test in it, which is obviously a bad practice. You don't want to do that. We have a PR length checker at Slack. It kind of tells you how long is your PR and is it generally considered a good quality PR, I guess. We also have a PR description checker because a lot of times I've seen people just putting up a PR saying, change the variable type. Why? I don't know. So small descriptions are usually not productive and not a good sign of a good PR. Code health checker. Every time we check in code at Slack, there's a little thing that complains saying that you decreased the health score by 1 because you didn't add a test, or there are a lot of different rules that are associated with it. So everyone should kind of strive to keep that health higher in the code. So yeah, AIs may not replace code reviews, but they are already kind of like, could be part of code reviews in some way or form. Going back to the original definition. Not going to read it again, too long, but like the keywords. How is code review impacting the team culture? A lot of times when I work at a company like Salesforce, people would ask me, how is the culture at Salesforce? And the answer is often not straightforward. It depends on the people you work with. It depends on the team you are in. In a lot of big enterprises and companies, there are microcultures. So if someone asks you what's the culture in your team, you are the culture. You are the one who is making the culture a good culture, a bad culture, a good peer to work with or not. So just keep that in mind when you are thinking about culture at your company. And if something is broken, you could fix it. Now going back to the code review and the 4 keywords that we picked. Systematic. It establishes a system that is tailored to your team's needs. Again, like I showed what we do at Slack may not work exactly like that for you. And with systems and processes, often what I've seen is the people who are making those systems or making those processes are no longer part of the team. They're long gone. They created a rule somewhere sometimes which may or may not make sense. And if you, as a person working in the team, are creating those processes yourself or are contributing to that process of creating that process, which works for your team and you might work better with it. There's something that we did at Salesforce a while ago called team agreements. So team would come together, agree on certain things that work for them, and then follow that process. As engineers, we often hate processes, but processes are sometimes good in a way, but as long as you all know what you are committing to, it helps. Collaboration. When I joined Salesforce 10 years ago almost, I saw a thing outside a conference room. It said, no questions are dumb questions. I, a junior engineer getting into a company in a new job, I kind of often felt I had this weird feeling of like, do I belong here? But when I saw that simple note, no questions are dumb questions, it empowered me to ask questions. It made me feel like I won't be judged if I ask questions. So collaborate, ask questions, foster a culture of curiosity, psychological safety. Make new engineers feel like they belong there. They could ask questions and you won't judge them for it. Assess. Code reviews are meant for gatekeeping, which is definitely still important, and we should be doing that. So fill in the blanks for the reviewees, ask them questions, help them make a better engineer at the end of the day. And all in all, code reviews are for improving code's quality and ease of maintenance. I have 6 seconds left. I did it. Any questions?
Give Roojuta a round of applause. We're going to do some Q&A. Okay, first question. How to ask for a meeting with a domain expert or staff engineer for code review when they are so busy?
Yeah. If you notice a certain person is a domain expert and is being a bottleneck for your code reviews, then I suggest requesting them to create office hours. That has worked very well in my company. People who are often busy, who has no time on their calendars, they usually book 1 hour a week and have 20-minute slots, so we can sign up for those slots and you can ask for meetings. It is a process change, takes a while, but sometimes hallway conversations used to help with this, but not anymore. We don't go to office anymore. So it's like, it's hard to kind of form that connection so you feel okay asking questions to them, but office hours is definitely helpful.
It's a good tactic. Okay, next question. Do you allocate specific time to do all code reviews in your calendar? How much time do you spend before you decide you need to meet to discuss further?
Me personally, I take code review as kind of part of my job. 20% of time, I'm just roughly saying it, I don't actually have exactly 20%, but like about 20% of time I do spend reading tech specs, reading code reviews. And sometimes when you don't understand, you kind of slack them. I slack the person and I would ask questions. And when I ask questions and it seems like it's not going anywhere, or there are too many stakeholders, that's when we'd call a meeting. No one likes meetings, I understand, but like lightweight meetings where you can kind of come on same page quickly rather than going back and forth on a tech spec or a code review is kind of what we usually do.
All right. So I think there's probably a lag still with the questions coming through. So is there anybody that would like to ask a question live? We got a couple here. How about Layla there in the middle? In the green? I think green.
Thank you. How do you differentiate between perfect and good enough for code reviews? There are people who push for perfect when you don't really need it. I'm curious, what's your experience coaching the team on that, showing the impact, guiding them through, you know it?
Yeah, it's always about preference versus the problem. I used to be that person who would be like, oh, this comment should be written this way, and that this function name should be this one. I still sometimes do that because method name should make sense, right? But preferences versus the actual problem. As long as, and depends on what role am I in that reviewee place. If I'm a peer working with that team every day, then the review is more in-depth, detailed. But if I'm working with a team that is coming to me for review because I'm a domain expert, I would be more like, does it align with the high-level vision? Does it align with the guidelines in terms of what the architecture, the framework should look like? And then you would give them a pass. But giving feedback, and a lot of times I've seen that happening at Slack, where people would add net in front of a feedback, which means you don't have to fix it, but it would be nice if you could fix it. So kind of like having that indication that I'm not blocking your PR from going in, but it would be nice if you could add a test case for this particular situation, because we have seen bugs in production before, kind of, yeah.
I think we had somebody back here.
Hi. I'm sure, going to the point of getting good PRs, it's a journey, right? It's not something that, hey, this is how it's going to be, and it works perfectly. So I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about that journey, namely, if you tried, things like how much accountability do we put on, reviewers to try to drive, better PR reviews.
Yeah, it depends on the age of the team as well, a lot of times, right? As you mentioned, it's a journey to get to perfect PR. We usually do, in Salesforce at general, we do retrospectives, where we kind of see how our last month went or our last sprint went, which helps us understand where we are lacking at. And kind of slowly building in things to the existing system that doesn't work for this team helps a lot for a team that is actually already functional. In case of new teams that are recently being formed for a new project that's coming up, doing those team agreements really work, where team sits together, kind of getting to know each other, what your styles are, and kind of building a process that works for the specific team. But like retrospect is a great way to kind of pivot a little bit at a time so you can move the needle to somewhere which works for your team.
Anybody over here? This gentleman here in the front. Actually, I have a microphone. There you go.
Yeah, thanks. I was curious, you spoke about code reviews. For design reviews and tech design reviews, do you see a difference, or does much of the same still apply?
I think design reviews and tech spec reviews are a little bit different because that are more at a higher level, right? Code reviews are day to day, and it should be small and sizable chunk. But design reviews at Slack mostly, since we have all been like working remotely, happen a lot over a tech spec or a document. And people usually read the document, send it out in a channel. We have a workflow that basically allows you to submit any tech spec review you want to submit. You do that, people kind of, and you mention few reviewers that you want to review the PR. And then if that is complex enough, the design spec is complex enough, then it warrants a meeting, then we schedule a meeting. But a lot of it happens offline collaboration over documentation. And in case of code reviews, it's more like you're already in the process, you have already started coding, it's related to a user story, so there's a lot more context that is easily understandable by people working on it. So yeah.
We have time for maybe one or two more. I see a lot of hands. How about this one and then one over here? Oh, I think he's bringing you a mic.
Hey, does Slack have any expectation on timeline for a PR to go to prod after it's open? Like, it should go to prod within like 48 hours or like 3 days?
So we do have continuous integration. Anything that goes into the main branch gets deployed into production, I think every day, I believe, multiple times a day. But we also have a lot of stop gaps in place so that a feature doesn't go live for customers. So we use feature toggles a lot. And we dog food our own product. So before an actual customer sees our stuff, we have been using it for months internally. So we kind of do experimentation a lot.
Okay, one more. The gentleman here in the blue, I think blue shirt.
So I was going to ask, do you have an optimal number of code reviews that you need before you launch?
Oh, we need systematically, we need one person to approve a PR before you can merge it. It is a lot based on honor system usually. Like I sometimes put up a PR and my friend gives me a check mark, but I wouldn't really merge until I know that the person whom I really need to get it reviewed from is reviewed. So it's a lot of honor system. We also have bypasses where someone doesn't need any code review and can merge it immediately in case of emergencies. But it's mostly like everyone kind of understands that it's better to get it reviewed by someone. So you kind of have someone else who is giving you a thumbs up before you kind of break something in production. But yeah.
So just a follow-on question. You said domain expert review. Is that based on our honor system again, where depending on how difficult the code is, you're like, I need a domain expert versus my friend?
Yeah, a lot of times as a reviewer, I would kind of point the person who is asking for a PR in a certain direction, saying that this is not my area of expertise, maybe you should go to this person. Because a lot of times it's hard with organizational changes happening and things moving from one team to the other every day. You don't know, everyone doesn't know who is the domain expert. So the default is to send it out to someone on your team, and most likely someone on your team kind of would point it out to you in the right direction. But yeah, it's all honor system, and mostly people are good about it. I've seen like getting it reviewed from the right person.
Thank you.
All right, so one last question. What do you enjoy so much that you completely lose track of time?
Yeah, I thought about it. Spending time outdoors is something that really fuels me when I get back to my day job and everything that I do around like technology stuff. But spending time hiking, going outdoors for a walk kind of helps. Yeah, lose track of time.
Great. All right, let's give Roojuta a round of applause. Thank you.